They never warn you when it starts. There's no dramatic announcement, no villain monologue, no obvious betrayal scene. It begins quietly, almost invisibly, in the subtle way her eyes stop looking at you with curiosity and start scanning you like an expense report. One day you're her future, the next day you're her liability. And most men never realize the transition happened until they're already standing in emotional quicksand, wondering why every conversation feels colder, why every disagreement feels heavier, why the room feels empty even when she's sitting right beside them. This is where most men get it wrong. They think relationships fall apart because of cheating or fighting or boredom, but the truth is darker. Most relationships die long before they officially end. They die the moment she stops imagining a future with you and starts calculating her exit. At first it shows up as emotional distance. She still talks to you, still laughs sometimes, still touches your arm in public, but something fundamental has shifted. Her warmth feels procedural. Her affection feels scheduled. She listens less deeply. She responds more mechanically. You tell her about your day and she nods, but her mind is already somewhere else. You feel it in your chest, that subtle sense that you're speaking into a room with no echo. This is the earliest sign. When a woman stops emotionally investing, she doesn't announce it. She withdraws silently. And men, trained to ignore intuition and overvalue logic, often miss this completely. Then comes the quiet disrespect. Not the loud kind, not screaming or insults, it's the micro disrespect. The way she interrupts you more, the way she dismisses your opinions, the way she jokes at your expense in front of others and calls it playful, the way your boundaries start feeling optional to her. Disrespect doesn't arrive with fireworks. It creeps in through small moments, tiny dismissals, subtle power shifts, and every time you let it slide, something inside her recalibrates. She starts seeing you not as a man she respects, but as a man she can manage. Soon after that, accountability disappears. Every problem becomes your fault. Every argument circles back to your shortcomings, your tone, your timing, your energy, your ambition, your emotional availability. Somehow, no matter how gently you approach an issue, you end up apologizing. This is when many men start shrinking themselves, trying to become easier to love, quieter, softer, more agreeable. They think compliance will restore harmony, but compliance doesn't inspire attraction. It signals weakness, and once she senses weakness, her subconscious begins preparing for life without you. Her future language changes next. Listen closely. She stops saying we. She starts saying I. Her plans slowly remove you from the picture. Trips become solo ideas. Goals become personal. Conversations about the future feel vague or avoided. You ask where this relationship is going and she gives non-answers wrapped in reassurance. Let's just see. No pressure. Why rush? But beneath that casual tone is a decision already forming. She's emotionally packing boxes while you're still rearranging furniture. Then comes comparison. She talks about other men more, coworkers, friends, boyfriends, random success stories she found online. Sometimes it's subtle admiration. Sometimes it's framed as harmless conversation, but the subtext is clear. You are being measured, evaluated, weighed against alternatives. This isn't about jealousy. This is about hierarchy. When a woman starts mentally ranking you against other men, she's no longer bonded. She's shopping. Physical intimacy follows the emotional withdrawal. Touch becomes rare. Desire becomes conditional. Sex feels transactional or disappears entirely. When you ask what's wrong, she says she's tired, stressed, overwhelmed. And sometimes that's true, but deep down, attraction doesn't vanish randomly. It fades when respect fades, when emotional connection breaks, when she no longer feels aligned with you. Her body is simply responding to a decision her mind has already started making. At this stage, you may notice she becomes oddly secretive. Her phone stays face down, passwords change, messages get deleted. She suddenly values privacy in ways she never did before, not because she's necessarily cheating, but because she's protecting her internal world from you. She's building emotional independence, creating space where you no longer exist. This is preparation. This is psychological separation. Another sign appears in how she handles conflict. She stops fighting for the relationship. Arguments become short, detached. She doesn't try to resolve things anymore. She just waits for them to end. Silence replaces engagement. Indifference replaces emotion. And indifference is the real killer. Anger means she still cares. Indifference means she's already halfway gone. Meanwhile, your role slowly changes. You stop being her partner and start becoming her utility. Emotional support, financial stability, household labor, convenience. You exist to provide, not to be desired. Conversations revolve around what you do, not who you are. You feel more like infrastructure than a man. And the more this dynamic solidifies, the harder it becomes to reverse. Eventually, resentment surfaces. She brings up old mistakes, past arguments, things you thought were resolved. This isn't about healing. This is about justification. She's constructing a narrative where leaving you makes sense, where you become the villain, where her departure feels morally clean. This story allows her to detach without guilt. The final sign is emotional detachment disguised as peace. She seems calmer, less reactive, less demanding. At first, you think things are improving, but what you're witnessing is acceptance. She has already mourned the relationship internally. She's already processed the loss. She's already imagined life without you. You're just catching up. This is what most men never understand. Women don't leave relationships suddenly. They leave slowly, internally, silently, months or even years before they physically walk away. By the time she finally says she's done, she's already gone. And here's the brutal truth no one tells you. This doesn't happen because men are evil or women are cruel. It happens because attraction is emotional, respect is subconscious, and relationships operate on psychological laws most people never learn. When a man loses purpose, loses direction, loses self-respect, the relationship becomes collateral damage. When he centers his entire identity around her, she becomes his universe while he becomes optional in hers. This is why masculine self-mastery matters. Not dominance, not control, inner stability, direction, emotional sovereignty. A man with purpose doesn't beg for validation. He doesn't negotiate attraction. He doesn't shrink himself to keep someone comfortable. He builds a life so solid that anyone who joins it is a complement, not a necessity. If you feel this story touching something inside you, it's because your nervous system recognizes the pattern. Somewhere in your past or present, you felt this slow erosion, that quiet distance, that invisible wall growing between you and someone you cared about. And this is the moment where most men either wake up or fade out. Because relationships don't collapse overnight. They decay in silence. And the men who survive emotionally are the ones who learn to read the signs early, reclaim their power internally, and rebuild themselves before the world forces them to. You are not born to be someone's emotional safety net while they plan their escape. You are not designed to slowly disappear inside a relationship that no longer sees you. You were built for strength, clarity, and purpose. And the moment you remember that is the moment everything changes.